Hello and welcome to day 3 of the Incandescent Joy Challenge. And today's topic is called locking in the good. So, this concept comes from Rick Hansen, who is a neuroscientist and a teacher in the wellness, mindfulness, trauma healing space. But before we go to the concept of locking in the good, I promised you some really nerdy neuroscience stuff, which is also fun. And so, if at all you are familiar with some amount of Instagram therapy content or pop psychology, you may have heard of the term glimmer. And in these spaces, a glimmer is often described as the opposite of a trigger. A trigger is basically a reminder, a visceral reminder, bodily reminder of a traumatic past event, although we use the word much more casually now. And a glimmer is supposed to be its opposite, but in like its softened Instagram pastel pink version, it is something beautiful that makes you feel good. But actually, the glimmer is a deeply profound scientific concept, a term coined by Deb Dana. And Deb Dana is a worker in the polyvagal theory. And so, the polyvagal theory is a theory of neuroscience and trauma developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. And Deb Dana is the person who was like the clinician who took it like out into the world and made it practically applicable to us as human beings. So, without going into the details of the theory, which are very interesting but probably too long for this session, I want to talk about a glimmer because this was a term coined by Deb Dana, and she says that a glimmer is a micro moment of connection, safety, and joy, which brings us into the ventral vagal state. Now, the ventral vagal state is itself a state in which it's like being with a bunch of really old friends with whom you can be completely comfortable and let down your hair. So, the ventral vagal state is a way of moving through the world where you feel safe in your skin, in your body, in your world. You feel a sense of belonging and you feel connected to those around you. You feel good and you want to do good towards others. And so, anything which can give you a flash, a micro moment of that kind of energy is called a glimmer. And so you will see that a glimmer is a micro moment of joy, safety, and connection. And you may have realized that we have been talking about noticing micro moments of joy in day 1. So I didn't introduce the concept as glimmers, but that is exactly what I was thinking of. I just didn't want to make it very head heavy on the first day. But by the third day, I wanted us to kind of come to a scientific understanding of it. And so Deb Dana has written a number of wonderful books. One of her books, which I really love and I keep going back to, is this book called Anchored. And in Anchored, I was leafing through it again before having this recording this session. And what she says is that exactly what our day 1 and 2 were about. When you notice a micro moment of glimmer and you notice how it makes you feel in your body, then you prime yourself to notice more such good moments which make you feel good, and so you're going to notice more such good moments. And so then that builds up a sense of in your body joy, safety, belonging, all the good stuff that puts us into that ventral vagal state, which is again not to say that this world is not harsh, difficult, that there are no problems, that sometimes we have to be in other states than ventral vagal. Like we do require a fight or flight response sometimes. But as human beings, we should be facile. As resilient human beings, we should be facile enough to move through these different states, bringing ourselves back to center over and over again. And that is how it would be in an ideal world. But we don't, of course, live in an ideal world. And so it helps sometimes to have this kind of theoretical basis to understand why we are talking so much about joy in this challenge and how it can take literally micro moments of noticing that joy. So, glimmers is a concept, it's a scientific concept. Even though it's a very pretty word, it is a scientific concept. And you can trust in this science, okay? In case it feels like you've tried or you've not quite tried things on the first 2 days, I hope that sharing the science gives you the confidence to not just go back and do the day 1 and 2 prompts, but kind of continue noticing as and how you can. And for some people, they will take to it like a duck to water, and they will start off noticing glimmers and notice them all the time and feel really good and becomes a habit. And with other people, we kind of need to remind ourselves more often. You may need to put in, like, you can put a 2 hour alarm on your phone and say, okay, do I, notice anything in my room that is beautiful right now, or in my surroundings where I am? Or you can share this information with your friends, and you can discuss it. And so that when it becomes a social activity or a socially acceptable activity to look for glimmers, we tend to do it more often. So you might find that you're a person whom a group or support or a friend or a family member also doing the same thing or talking about it helps. You may find that reading helps, in which case I would strongly recommend Deb Dana's Anchored. Um, all of my work eventually centers around working through the difficult things and moving towards the good stuff that can help us work through the difficult things and do the things that we are meant to do in this world, which are very often difficult, which are not, always easy, love and light kind of things. So, if you are in my world, there will always be stuff like that coming your way. I specifically dedicated a whole week to safety in my 7 week long program Cocoon. So, that is something that you might want to check out. So, these are some of the ways in which you can stay connected to this concept of joy and glimmers. But, like I said, you can totally do it on your own or in the company of friends or a group of people that you make up. You can have a book reading club for Anchored. I do want to start an online book reading club at some point. When I do, you'll be the first to know. But that's something you can do, even reading a book with just one friend and discussing the concepts in the book. And the reason I'm offering this is the second part of this today's session is to talk about a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is very focused on how we filter information and learn new things. So since we've come to the reticular activating system, let me give you some examples of the work it does. Say you walk into a crowded room and you are looking for your friend, right? You know she's wearing a particular colored dress. Your reticular activating system will be the one which is scanning the room, filtering out all other colored dresses because you're looking for someone in a purple dress, and that purple will keep catching your eye, or blue or mauve, anything which is close to the color your friend is wearing. Your ears will be attuned for her kind of tone of voice. And that's the reticular activating system kind of suppressing the crowd and the noise and the chaos and all the colors and helping you to kind of focus on these cues which you have. And so it's a really good filtering system, but it's also a noticing system. And what I mean by this is, um, say you learn a new word, right? You notice how you learn a new word and then you keep coming across that word in different contexts, that you never knew this word existed for so many years of your life. And then suddenly you see it in the newspaper, and someone uses it on the TV, and a friend uses it in a conversation and shows up in a book that you're reading. It's because now your reticular activating system was like primed by that word, by something new you've learned. Say you see a lime green car, and lime green cars aren't that common. Suddenly you may find yourself noticing more lime green cars because your reticular activating system is now primed by to notice those things. And so this is the quality of the reticular activating system that we can harness, and that we've spoken about harnessing in day 1 and 2. Because if you naturally start noticing that joyful things, and it makes you feel good, and then you notice that you're feeling good by noticing that joyful thing, whatever your joy signature is in your body, for each different joyful stimulus, it kind of becomes that positive feedback loop at the level of your body and brain that happens in your reticular activating system. And this is much more powerful than just setting an intention, right? Some people find it very powerful to set an intention and say, I will notice joyful things in my life, I will notice more glimmers, I will turn towards what is good. And intentions can be powerful, don't get me wrong. I set intentions all the time. I'm not a goal setter, I prefer to set intentions. But even more than setting intentions, I like to cultivate the conditions within myself that allow for me to flow towards whatever I'm intending, rather than the intention is a goal and I'm kind of pushing myself or motivating myself to kind of get there. The intention is a destination that I have to push myself towards. I much prefer to kind of create the conditions in which my intention can kind of be a seed that is planted and can bloom and thrive. So that's metaphorical language, but it's also intensely practical for me because as a neurodivergent person, conventional goal setting productivity doesn't work for me. And yet I'm an immensely productive person, and uh, well, I get by, right, in life. So there have different ways in which I have to work with my brain. And so, having said that, we come back to the reticular activating system. This is going to be your secret weapon in noticing more, the neuroscience of it, and noticing more joy outside, noticing how it feels inside, and setting up that kind of feedback loop. So, yeah, we will use the reticular activating system and this neuroscience to turn towards what's good. But now, how do we lock it in? And so, locking in the good is a concept that, as I said, I came across it for the first time when I attended a talk or a lecture at some seminar by Dr. Incandescent, and I got really fascinated with his work for the longest time. It is where he says that if something good happens, right, if you've had a good moment, a joyful moment, don't let it just wash past you. Take a moment, take a beat, slow down, and pay attention to it. Like, really soak it in, like, marinate in it. It's exactly what we're doing in day one and two, but like one level or two level of intensity more. So, you've noticed something joyful, right? In your mind, in your mind's eye, in your through your senses, capture that moment. What was the sun like? What was the bird song like? And I know this may sound contradictory because in day one I said we want so many ordinary moments of joy that we forget it. But first, before we reach that stage where we're going to forget exactly the things that bring us joy, because we're experiencing joy all the time, we have to learn to kind of not grasp, but when it is given to us, we need to hold on to it, not let it pass like water through our hands. So locking it in is almost like building this container of joy in your body. And so, even the good sensations that you feel, that joy signature, that warmth in your heart, that tenderness that you feel, that love that you feel flowing, take a beat and like really anchor it in. These are the sensations that I feel. This is how I'm feeling, and this is good. So that's the concept of locking it in. It's taking that extra beat. You notice outside, you notice within, and then you take this moment to be like, this is it. This is what I'm anchoring in. This is something good that has happened. And I know some people find it helpful to write down and notice stuff because writing down is also a body, brain, mind, heart kind of connection. That's why journaling is so effective. But you don't always have access to your journal. Say you're walking down the street, right? But if you see a really beautiful tree or a plant or you see a bird building a nest, you can stop a beat. You can stop a beat. And that's what all the poets say, right? About slowing down and smelling the roses. It's not that we don't get any other work done, but surely, no matter how busy your life is, at least a couple of times in the day, you can afford to slow down a beat. And I literally mean a beat to go, this is it, this is good, I'm anchoring it in, this is how it feels in my body, this is what it's like outside. It's literally that's how long it's going to take. That's why I'm repeating it over and over again to show you that is how long that takes. And so this is the concept of locking in. Our body naturally locks in the negative stuff, right? If something bad happens, you're not going to have to tell yourself, oh well, I need to be wary of this person, or oh well, when someone says these words or with this tone of voice, it's like we have a lot of red flag things happening. Again, insta therapy and pop psychology, there are a lot of this person is a red flag and that person is a walking red flag, and these are red flags in a best friend. But honestly, our body is primed and our minds are primed to notice and lock in the negative stuff because it's a powerful survival mechanism. Okay, it's not because we are prone to a negativity bias or whatever. When bad stuff has happened, we need to be able to anticipate other bad stuff so that we avoid it, so that we make preparations for it, right? And that's a good thing. That's how the human species has survived so many years. But we can't let it run the show. We can't let it run the show, and that is why with good stuff we have to make that conscious decision to lock things in. And again, if you get your reticular activating system on board, which is there's nothing fancy. You just have to maybe read up about this neuroscience, or you watch this video again, or you Google reticular activating system and see what comes up. But basically, get yourself to a point where you trust the science. Okay, where you trust the science that you will filter out what's irrelevant, but you notice what's important to you, and you can train yourself to notice more of what's important to you, know more of what's good to you, because we all have a reticular activating system. So that's all it really takes. And so The prompt for today is in two parts, and it's a little different from what we've done in the first 2 days. I would like you to do a breathing mindfulness practice. And again, I have longer practices on the YouTube channel and I have shorter practices on the YouTube channel. But when you do a guided practice, say you're doing my guided breath focus meditation or anyone else's guided breath focus meditation, I want you to split your attention almost, in the sense that hold joy in your mind without getting into your head or without getting into your thoughts. So maybe you can locate joy in your heart. You can let the experience of joy wash over you. And as you are breathing in and out, I often say that you can use the words inhale or exhale, in or out. So you can use something like breathing in, this is joy, breathing out, this is joy. Or you can just hold that experience of joy in your mouth, as in your mind, as you're breathing in and out. And the reason why we want to do this is because something about doing the two things together, it allows you to, the concept to click. The thing, it was as easy for me as breathing. Like, you've heard that phrase, right? So this is literally syncing something which is important to you, like joy and breathing, and kind of seeing if you can hold them both together, so that joy becomes second nature. Just like breathing, joy becomes a habit. Joy becomes as easy as breathing. And so it might sound a very way out there concept, but I encourage you to try and see how it works for you, and not to give up if it doesn't work the first time, because some of these things take more time to register for us than others. But I packed a lot into today, starting with Deb Dana and her concept of glimmers, which is what we've been doing on day 1 and day 2. Then the reticular activating system, filtering out what's irrelevant, noticing what's new or important, training yourself to notice what's new and important, and using the reticular system to lock the good stuff in, forming almost like a container in your mind and body to hold the joy, not to just let it pass through your hands like, water falling. And then to do these two practices, a short breath focus mindfulness practice, and obviously I will link videos, as well as while holding the concept, the idea, the visceral experience, the memories of joy in your mind, while also trying not to get caught up into thought loops and ruminations and imagination about joy, but kind of like meditating with joy is what I would call it. And so if you have any aha moments, any comments, any feedback, suggestions, you can put it in the comments below. I will get back to you. Or you can do it in the feedback form that I have linked. If you want to stay private, there is also an anonymous option. And I would also encourage you to, if you feel so inclined, to subscribe to the channel and to like this video, because it helps with engagement and algorithm and all of that. And I will see you tomorrow for day 4.